Folks, I don't have a lot of videos on individual plants on the channel yet, but there's one I get so many questions about, I thought it was worth its own video, and that is the Echinodorus Apart, or the Amazon sword apart, coming up right now. Another reason I think this plant is worth its own video is that it's hard to find information about the plant online. When people would ask me about it, I'd let them know this is an Echinodorus Apart, or an Amazon sword apart. They would go back and research it online and come back and let me know that there just isn't that much information out there about the plant, or they couldn't find any information at all. So I wanted to share with you how I found out about the plant, where I purchased it, and how I purchased it, so that if it's a plant you'd like to have in your tank, you have a little bit more information to share with retailers or wholesalers. Now, I found this plant in one of my favorite books on plants, The 101 Best Aquarium Plants by Mary E. Sweeney. I highly recommend it. Great colored pictures. She divides the plants up into foreground, midground, and background. She'll provide an overview for each plant, talk about the habitat it's native to, the water requirements, the feeding requirements, lighting requirements, special care needs, propagation, and just a little bit more notes on the plant itself. There's also a lot of great information in the book on keeping aquarium plants in general. And I do like to look through this book, and I'll paperclip the plants that I want to buy and try out. There's a lot paperclipped in this book, so a lot of the plants that I keep in my tanks I actually got from this book. And when I saw the Amazon sword apart, I went down to my local fish store, Pasadena Tropical Fish, and had them order the Amazon sword apart for me. Now, this is a unique sword. It doesn't grow straight up like a lot of swords do. It actually grows out, or grows apart, which is where the name Amazon sword apart came from. Now, this is what I particularly wanted in reading about the plant, because this is in my crib fry grow out tank. It's 15 gallons, but it's not a very tall tank. I wanted a sword in the background that would kind of spread out along the background. It wouldn't grow too tall, because this just isn't a very tall tank. I think one of the reasons it's hard to find information on this online is it's actually a hybrid sword. It's a hybrid between two different types of Echinodorus species. And I'm going to do my best to sound these out, but the Echinodorus Portoalegrensis and the Echinodorus Uruguayensis. So it's a hybrid between those two. You put those two together and you get the Echinodorus Apart, or the Amazon sword apart. Now, that information does come direct from Mary Sweeney's book. I know I can't show you the pages. I don't want to violate any copyright rules, but I can tell you a little bit about the sword. So the max height on this is about 15 inches. It likes medium lighting, water 72 to 84 degrees. You don't need CO2. I certainly don't use CO2 in this tank. It does like root tabs. It is a heavy root feeder, but it doesn't take over the substrate like a lot of other swords do, so it leaves a lot of room for other plants. It's really a nice sword to have in tanks that aren't too tall. Or if you do have a large tank, you might consider putting this in the foreground and giving it some room to spread out. It'll look really good. Now, the new leaves, and here's a new leaf here, come out a little bit more reddish and brownish, and as they grow, you'll see a lot more green in the leaves. But they always retain that red and green mottled appearance, and it's there for a specific reason, which is a really neat evolutionary aspect to plants that have red and green in them. I like to call these smart plants. They actually have two separate photosynthetic pigments in the leaves, and for a very good reason. Now, as a very basic explanation, plants have very little control over the rate of photosynthesis within their own cells. So in high light conditions, they photosynthesize as fast as possible and will keep doing that in high light conditions, but they run the risk of tiring out. Here's where the pigments come into play. Green pigment in low light conditions increases the efficiency of photosynthesis, so the plants are getting more energy in low light conditions. With the red pigment, it's the opposite. In very high light conditions, the red pigment decreases the efficiency of photosynthesis. So the plant is able to, in a way, put on the brakes so it doesn't get worn out without the red pigment. It might wear itself out in conditions where it's high light for long periods of time. Very unique evolutionary adaptation in plants. Now, here's the plant growth. This is August 25th, 2019 after a trim, and here's February 1st, 2020 after another trim. It's a very easy plant to take care of, and I really don't do anything special with this plant. I do weekly water changes, about 40%. I use Nylock G Thrive tabs, and I put those in about every 2 months. This is just in pool filter sand as the substrate. Once a week, I do dose Nylock G Thrive C liquid fertilizer. And I do dose a little bit of iron once a week using Aquarium Co-op's Easy Iron. And I do trim off the bad leaves when the sword has bad leaves, but Really, that's about all the care is needed. It's grown really, really well for me, so a very easy plant to take care of. So I hope that's helpful in providing a little bit more information about the plant. If you're working with a retailer or a wholesaler and having a hard time tracking it down, maybe let them know it is a hybrid between two different Echinodorus species, and maybe that will help track it down a little bit faster. Folks, we are about to release the second episode of Show Us Your Tanks. We do have enough submissions for episode 2 that'll be coming out in a few days. If you would like to show us your tank, simply send an email to dmichaelsfishden@gmail.com. Send in a picture or video of your tank, a description, how long you've been in the hobby, what fish you're keeping, really anything you'd like to tell us. Include your YouTube name or YouTube handle, and we'll keep putting out these Show Us Your Tanks episodes as long as we are getting submissions. For more information on Nylock-G's root tabs or for using sand in a planted tank, I'll leave 2 links here on the end screen. Please like, comment, subscribe for future content, and as always, folks, thanks for watching.